What if the reason you never feel enough is because you're constantly trying to prove that you are?
Have you ever noticed that no matter what you achieve, it never seems to feel like enough? You work harder, you earn the degree, you receive the compliment, you reach the goal. For a brief moment, you feel satisfied. Then, almost immediately, your mind asks another question: what's next? Many people believe they're chasing success. In reality, they're chasing proof. Proof that they're intelligent enough, successful enough, worthy enough, lovable enough. The problem is that proof was never designed to satisfy your sense of worth. Achievements can measure performance. They cannot measure your value as a person. When your self-worth depends on external evidence, every accomplishment becomes temporary. The finish line keeps moving, and without realizing it, you stop enjoying what you've earned because your mind has already started searching for the next reason to feel enough.
Your brain is remarkably good at protecting the beliefs it already holds. If somewhere along the way you began believing that you weren't enough, your mind quietly started collecting evidence to support that story. Compliments become luck. Success becomes coincidence. Achievements become expectations. But mistakes? Those become proof. This is one reason why people often remember criticism more vividly than praise. Your brain gives more attention to information that confirms what it already believes. Even when dozens of experiences suggest you're capable, one small failure can feel stronger than all of them combined. The issue isn't a lack of evidence, it's the filter through which you're interpreting it. When your identity is built around never feeling enough, no amount of external validation can permanently change the way you see yourself. The problem isn't outside, it's the story your mind continues repeating inside.
Success becomes dangerous when it stops being something you do and becomes who you believe you are. Without noticing, many people replace their identity with their accomplishments. Instead of saying, "I succeeded," they begin believing, "I'm only valuable when I succeed." That subtle shift changes everything. Every challenge becomes a test of your worth. Every mistake feels personal. Every comparison becomes a threat. Instead of learning, you're constantly trying to protect your identity. Ironically, this makes achievement less enjoyable, because reaching a goal no longer feels like a celebration. It feels like relief. Relief that for one more day you managed to prove yourself. But relief doesn't create confidence. It only delays the fear of needing to prove yourself again. Real confidence begins when your value no longer depends on your latest achievement, but on the understanding that your worth existed long before your accomplishments ever did. External validation feels powerful because it gives immediate emotional relief. A compliment makes you smile. A promotion gives you confidence. A high grade brings a moment of pride. But those feelings rarely last. Soon, the excitement fades, and your mind begins searching for the next achievement. This happens because validation answers a temporary emotional need, not a permanent one. It tells you that you did something well. It cannot convince you that you are enough. When your confidence depends on applause, silence begins to feel like rejection. When it depends on recognition, ordinary days begin to feel like failure. Gradually, you stop measuring your progress by how much you've grown. Instead, you measure it by how much approval you receive. The more you depend on outside proof, the less you trust your own judgment. Eventually, your opinion of yourself becomes quieter than everyone else's. That is when validation stops being encouraging and starts becoming something you believe you cannot live without.
One of the quietest consequences of constantly seeking proof is that you slowly stop trusting your own experiences. You finish a project, but you wait for someone else to tell you it was good. You make a decision, but you feel calmer only after someone agrees with it. You accomplish something meaningful, yet you hesitate to feel proud until another person recognizes it. Over time, your inner voice becomes weaker, not because it disappeared, but because you've trained yourself to believe that other people's opinions are more reliable than your own. This creates a cycle that is difficult to notice. The less you trust yourself, the more reassurance you seek. The more reassurance you seek, the less confidence you build from within. Real self-confidence doesn't come from never receiving validation. It comes from learning that validation is welcome, but no longer necessary for you to believe in your own value.
Breaking this pattern doesn't mean giving up ambition or refusing to celebrate success. It means changing the reason you pursue it. Goals are healthy when they express who you are becoming. They become exhausting when they're used to prove that you deserve to exist. The next achievement will never permanently solve a problem that began with self-worth. Only a different relationship with yourself can do that. Start noticing how often you ask for proof before allowing yourself to feel proud. Question the belief that your value increases every time you succeed and decreases every time you fail. Your achievements deserve to be celebrated, but they should never carry the impossible responsibility of defining your worth. The strongest confidence isn't built from collecting endless evidence. It's built when you finally realize that your value was never something you had to earn. It was simply something you stopped believing was already there.
Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped treating every achievement as a test of your worth. You would still set goals, you would still work hard, you would still celebrate success, but success would no longer be the permission slip that allows you to feel valuable. Because your value is never hiding inside your grades, your job title, your income, or other people's approval. Those things can reflect your effort. They cannot define who you are. The truth is, no amount of proof will ever silence the voice that keeps asking, "Am I enough?" Not because you haven't achieved enough, but because that question was never meant to be answered by achievements in the first place. It can only be answered by changing the story you believe about yourself. Perhaps the life you've been chasing isn't waiting behind one more accomplishment. Perhaps it's waiting on the day you stop demanding evidence before allowing yourself to believe that you already matter. So before you move on, ask yourself one honest question. What are you still trying to prove, and to whom? Share your answer in the comments. You may discover that many people have been carrying the very same invisible burden. And if you enjoy exploring the psychology behind our thoughts, habits, and everyday decisions, subscribe to One Choice Away. Because sometimes, the biggest transformation in your life doesn't begin when you achieve more. It begins when you finally believe that you are enough all along.